Hi everyone. Good afternoon. I hope you had a nice weekend. I wanted to start a new topic today called functions. So I'm just going to get the kind of first couple of bits of it done here today. There's a good bit in this. There's two chapters. So there's a chapter in the ordinary level book and a chapter in the higher level book. Um, so yeah, functions. Functions are very, very similar to lots of other bits of maths that we do, some that we have done. Um, it's just that it's a bit like sets, the way sets has loads of symbols and things like that, like there's like intersection and union and cardinal number and all that, and it's all symbols. Functions is a bit like that. There's an awful lot of symbols in it, an awful lot of notation in it, and that makes it seem really complicated. But once you can understand the notation, it's actually just algebra. It's just more algebra. It's just they phrase it differently because instead of saying, you know, evaluate this when x is 6, they'll ask that, but they'll ask it using notation. So you have to be able to understand the notation. Okay? So generally speaking, a function is, I think it says it here somewhere, but I'll just write it down anyway. A function is just a rule. So it tells you something to do with a number. So for example, it might be take a number, um, multiply it by 2 and minus, sorry, minus, I don't know, 3. Okay, so that's a rule. We take a number, we multiply it by 2, and we minus 3. Yeah? Now, that's the rule written in English. We can also write that rule in maths. Okay, so just so everybody's on the same page, the number is pretty much always x. Okay, you can call it something else if you want, but the book will pretty much always call it x. So we're going to take a number like x. The rule says to multiply it by 2. So we're going to multiply it by 2. And then we're going to minus 3. Yeah? Okay, so literally just wrote down the words in maths. Now this bit here, that's not how we write x times 2. We never write it like that. Hopefully you're saying it to me. But when we multiply a number by a letter, we always write it like this. Yeah? So x times 2. Sorry. X times 2 is just 2x. And then minus 3. So this rule here, or this function, is the same as this function. One is written in words, and one is written in maths. Yeah? So, I don't know why that's not moving, sorry. There you go. Okay, so I'm going to try another one here. So we'll start with a rule. So take a number, multiply by 4, and add 6. Yeah? Okay, so there's the word version of it. So now I'm going to write it. I'm just going to show you something here. I'm going to write it in maths. I'm using inverted commas, so as if maths is a language, which it is. But anyway, I'm going to write it in maths. So I'm going to take x, which is the number. I'm going to multiply it by 4. And I'm going to add 6. Yeah? So again, we don't write this like that, we write 4x plus 6. Yeah? Now, when we write this as a function, okay, so I said a function was a rule, okay, when it's written as a function, we sort of have to say, like, the function is 4x plus 6, okay, but we don't write that. We don't write the function is 4x plus 6. What we write is this, okay, or sometimes it looks like this. See, this is where I know the notation. So sometimes it looks like this. Okay, but both of these things, see, mean the function is this. Okay, and I should say it doesn't have to be f either. They can use G or H or I. I mean, technically, they can use anything. They do tend to stick in that bit of the alphabet, like F, G, H, I, J, K, kind of. They tend to stick there, but there's no rule. I mean, they could use anything they wanted. And so it doesn't have to be F. We use F obviously because F is the first letter of function, but it's not the only thing that can be used. So if in a question there's 2 or 3 functions and they're all different, they'll call the first one F, the second one G, and the third one H. Is that okay? And obviously maybe it's not obvious, but the next bit is the same. So instead of F bracket X, it would be G bracket X. Another thing I should say is how we say this. So when you read this, okay, when you're saying it, what you say is F of X. That's how you say it. So that's F of X equals 4x plus 6. And what it means is the function is take a number, multiply it by 4, and add 6. Is that okay? And then I just want to point out that, oh, sorry, I zoomed out way too far there. So you have it in numbers, and then we translated it, we have it in words, then we translated it into maths. I've added the function notation, okay? This could also be a patterns. So this one here is using functions notation, right? But we could also use patterns notation, okay, which you studied for your exam. So this function, if it was in patterns, would look like this. Okay, so it's just a different way of writing the same thing. If we were doing a patterns question, it wouldn't be f of x, it would be tn, and it wouldn't be an x, it would be an n. Okay, and we haven't done this yet, so I don't want to labour on it too much, but in coordinate geometry, the exact same function would look like this. Okay, so in functions, it's f of x equals 4x plus 6. In patterns, it would be tn equals 4n plus 6. And in geometry, it would be y equals 4x plus 6. Okay, so I have a little tab out here in your notes called links, and because there's an awful lot of links between functions and other parts of the course. Okay, you won't fully appreciate the links until we've kind of done all those parts, so it'll be in third year, but it's kind of important from a notes point of view that you have them, and that those links are important. Okay, so I was saying a function is a rule, okay, that takes a number and turns it into another number. Okay, so the one I had up here was take a number, multiply it by 4 and add 6. So let's say the number I take is, sorry, I'm trying to pick color. Let's say the number I take is 3. So I take the number 3, I multiply it by 4, that gives me 12, and then I add 6, and that gives me 18. Yeah? So this number is referred to as the input because I put it in to the function. I put it into the rule. And then this number is referred to as the output because when I input 3 into the rule, the answer that was spat out was 18. So that's my output. Is that okay? So that's what a rule does. It turns one number into a different number. I have an example here. I don't know why it's done, so I'm just going to rub it out for a second to make sure it actually makes sense. The input there was 6, wasn't it? So multiply by 2 and add 4. So if we take an input of 6, multiply it by 2, 6 times 2 is 12, and then add 4, that does give us an output of 16. So if you take the number 6, input it into this rule, it will spit out that output. Okay, and that's what a function does. It assigns, you can see it in blue there, it assigns an output to each input. So you're inputting a number, you're following a mathematical procedure, and then that gives you an output. Yeah? Here's a little example here. So find the value of 3x minus 4 when x is 7. Okay, so the input is the number you're going to put into the function. So the input is 7. The function, sorry, the function or the rule is that you're going to multiply it by 3 and you're going to subtract 4. So it's 3x minus 4. And then we need to get that output. So we're going to take 7, we're going to multiply it by 3. 7 times 3 is 21. And then we're going to minus 4. So minus 4 is 17. And that's your output. Yeah? We might try just, have I got a couple of questions? No. Okay. So I do have one here that I'm going to just use. I just want to try one more. So, it's x minus 4. I don't know if we've used that one yet. Okay, so find the output when the input is 3 of the function 6x minus 4. Now, I just want to show you another way of asking that question. Okay, so this is how they would ask it in an exam. So they would give you the function, and remember this means the function is. So what is the function? The function is 6x minus 4. Yeah? And they want us to find, and this thing says f of 3. Okay, so if you look, where there once was an x, there is now a 3. Okay, so what they are telling you there is to input 3 instead of x. That's what they're telling you. They're telling you to input 3 instead of x. That's what they've done. So they've taken what was f of x and they've turned it into f of 3. So they're telling you, don't use x anymore. Please now use 3. So what they're doing is they're giving you the input. So in green, we have the function. In yellow, we have the input. So we're going to do 6. In place of the x, we're going to put in 3 and then minus 4. Okay, 6 times 3 is 18 minus 4, which is 14. And that's the output. So for this function, which is 6x minus 4, if you input 3, you get an output of 14. Is that okay? So it's just to show you that notation because that's how I'm going to ask the homework. So here is the homework. So it says, I'll snip this out because the notes are a mess, but it says find the outputs in the following functions. So we have 3 functions here. And like I said, if there's more than one function in a question, they'll use different letters. So f of x is the first function, which is 2x plus 1. So it's take a number, multiply it by 2 and add 1. There's a second function, which they've called the g function. And that's 6x minus 11, which is take a number, multiply it by 6 and subtract 11. And then there's a third function, which is h, the h function. And in the h function, they want you to take a number, multiply it by 9 and add 13. Okay, and then down below there's 3 questions. So in the first one, they want you to use an input of 2. So 2 is the input, and you're going to input it into the f function. So that's going to go into this function. You're going to use the rule you're going to use, or the function you're going to use, is 2x plus 1. And the number you're going to input is the number 2. Okay, the second one, the input number is 3, but this time you're going to input it into the h function. So it's going to go into this one, into the h function. And then the last one, the input number is 4, and you're going to input it into the g function, so it's going to go into this one. Okay, so the number in the bracket is your input number, and then the letter tells you where to put it. So do I put it into the first row, the second row, or the third row? The letter tells you that. And then what you're trying to do is, as it says in the question, is find the outputs. Okay, so there's quite a few notes there, so make sure you take them down and maybe read over them a few times and listen back to the video if you need to. And I am just going to put this into your homework section. Oh, I need a new homework section. So Monday, what is it? 10th? Yeah, it's 10th. Okay, so that will be on Schoology as well. So will you answer those questions, please? And I will hopefully be back to go through the answers. All right. Perfect. Have a good day.